Today, I am creating the most unstoppable military force the world has ever seen. I'm talking about a fusion of the deadliest, most advanced, most elite elements from every real-world nation's military, and I'm not holding back. We're covering every category that matters. Special forces, naval dominance, cyber warfare, nuclear power, intelligence, you name it. And by the end of this video, we won't just have a powerful army, we'll have a god-tier war machine so overwhelmingly advanced that no country, no alliance, not even the entire United Nations could hope to stand against it. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's add in a small rule, and that is, we can only use a trait from a country's military just once. Meaning, if we choose China for their large army, then we won't be able to use China again for other traits like their naval power, technology, or secret weapon. Yeah, at the very least, this would definitely make things a lot more difficult. Okay, let's begin by choosing our naval power. You see, it is true a lot of countries are really good in this aspect, but if I were to pick the strongest ones, I will go with these three, for obvious reasons. United Kingdom is the first country that we're considering. The Royal Navy might be small, but it's very lethal. It has 2 modern aircraft carriers, nuclear-armed submarines, and world-class training, of naval experience and strong NATO ties. One interesting thing about them is that despite their numbers, they still easily respond fast to global threats. But is this the best option? Not quite. The second country we're to consider is the United States. The U.S. Navy is the ocean's final boss. They have 11 carriers, laser-loaded ships, and global bases like fast food chains. It shows up anywhere and anytime. Even though these ones seem like the perfect option, I would still have to go for another one, France. France's navy is powerful, independent, and nuclear capable. It has a nuclear-powered carrier, ballistic missile subs, and overseas bases. Not to mention the crazy factor that they build their own ships and tech, giving it full control and a strong global presence without relying on other nations. Personally, I think this suits us best, as while being the strongest military, we wouldn't have to rely on other countries for crucial technologies and would be able to produce our own extra destructive weapons, as well as keeping it a secret. Yeah, France is a pretty valid choice. This was just the first trait, and we still have 10 more to analyze, so like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep going. The next category we have in mind, ground forces. Here, I would have to go straight to the point and mention India. With over 1.4 million active soldiers, a tough and experienced military built to handle all kinds of stuff, India's ground forces are built different. They train for every climate, mountains, deserts, jungles, you name it. And their years of protecting their borders multiple times from multiple attacks only made their army stronger. And shockingly, they still follow strict rules and training methods like in the past. But at the same time, they use the latest technology, modern weapons, specialized battle tanks. And let's not forget the sheer scale. In simple terms, if you go to war on land with India, you better pack for a very long fight. Yeah, the US might be a considerable choice due to their crazy technology. China as well, with unmatchable numbers. And Russia, who has a history of powerful ground forces, with lots of tanks and artillery. But I don't think any of them come close. Besides, I'm still trying to reserve these countries for other important categories that would best fit our overall military. Okay, let's speed things up a little bit and talk about missile systems and artillery. Here, we have 4 countries that really stand out: South Korea, China, the USA, and Russia. Now, although South Korea and China have some impressive stuff here, like the long-distance missiles from China, I still think the US and Russia are our main focus. When it comes to the United States, they fight with the HIMARS, a truck that shoots smart rockets with Wi-Fi level accuracy from 50 miles away. In simple terms, it's like an assassin, fast, smooth, accurate, and still deadly. Now, when it comes to Russia, it is the king of chaos. The Iskander missiles, fast, stealthy, and can dodge defenses. Yeah, the US might be an assassin, but this one's a ninja. Their S-400 air defense system is basically a sniper rifle for planes, and their heavy artillery. Let's just say, if Russia wants something gone, it's gone. Yeah, we're definitely taking Russia's missile systems and artillery. I know our military is already the strongest, right? But hold on, because we still have a lot to talk about. Now, let's look at intelligence and recon. Here, I would quickly mention the United States, as yeah, almost any event that happens on Earth, the US already knows. Between the CIA, NSA, NRO, and spy satellites named like Marvel villains, America's intel game is omnipresent. Signal intercepts, human intelligence, drone surveillance, orbital imaging, they don't just gather data, they drown in it, analyze it with AI, and then act before you blink. They own the word 2 steps ahead in the military game. However, even though they sound so perfect, I still wouldn't be picking them. Instead, I'd be going for Turkey. Yeah, quite surprising. But sadly, all my other choices have already been used, and we have to follow the rules. But honestly, I'm not complaining here, as they are also really good. Turkey may not be a global spy giant, but don't underestimate the MIT, National Intelligence Organization. They've upgraded fast, handling cyber ops, hunting terrorists, and flexing strong regional intel. They are quiet, sharp, and increasingly bold in Middle Eastern and Eastern European affairs. Next, I'd have to speak of a trait that many of you underestimate: logistics and supply chain. Because, you can't win wars if you don't feed the fight. Yeah, every country with top-tier military usually uses this, but the known countries that excel most are the United States, Russia, China, and Germany. Russia has already been used, and as for China, their military logistics are expanding fast. Rail, ports, and the Belt and Road turn Asia into a supply highway for global power projection. Now, I wouldn't be using the US here as well, since I'm still keeping it for another improvement trait. And finally, Germany. They are NATO's logistics backbone. Central location, autobahns, top-tier rail, and infrastructure make it the go-to hub for moving troops across Europe. Now, which would we pick amongst these two? Well, from my knowledge, China is meant for scale and wide or global production, while Germany is precise and can excel more on the military aspect. On other circumstances, China is a better choice. But I think on this one, it's Germany, so that's exactly what we're picking. We've covered 5 traits so far, but we've yet to cover the most important trait, and that's none other than technology. Here, the known candidates are the US with their stylish yet futuristic tech, from stealth bombers, hypersonic tests, drone swarms, AI command systems, you name it. Then there is Russia, whose military tech is mostly associated with raw and massive destruction. China also excels here, and they don't just create dangerous tech, they have lots of them. Yeah, always deadly when it comes to numbers. Israel is also a candidate here, as they casually turn war into a science project. In simple terms, they mostly use smart and dangerous weapons in battle. Now, all 4 mentioned are really good choices regardless which I go with. But honestly, I wouldn't go with any, as I have one more in mind: Japan. Japan isn't as crazy as the rest when it comes to offense. However, their defense is one of, if not the best. They have anti-missile laser systems, AI-powered radar and targeting, electromagnetic railguns, and even the Aegis destroyers, which can be used for both offense and defense. Yeah, we take our military technology capabilities from Japan. Next up, let's talk about cyber warfare capabilities. Now, this one's quite similar to the technology aspect, but only a little better, more in-depth and technical. Now, here, I would just say that our choices for the technology trait are still the same with this one. And with countries like Russia, Japan, and the US already used, we are now left to choose from either China, Israel, or the US. The US might be the best option here, but I want to go with Israel on this one. This isn't your average military cyber division. This is one of the most feared and advanced digital forces on the planet. These operators aren't just defending servers, they're rewriting the rulebook of cyber warfare in real time. One thing that makes them so dangerous is their ability to infiltrate, disrupt, and dismantle critical systems before anyone even knows they're under attack. They're the ones behind Stuxnet, the world's first cyber weapon that didn't just steal data, it physically sabotaged Iran's nuclear program. No airstrikes, no boots on the ground, just pure, invisible chaos. But what really separates them is their mindset. This unit blends military discipline with tech startup agility. They move fast, adapt faster, and execute with zero hesitation. Every click, every line of code is part of a calculated move. They don't just react to threats, they eliminate them before they exist. When it comes to special forces, there are a few names that instantly make the list: SS, SEALs, Spetsnaz, Sayeret, Matkal. All elite, all deadly. But if we're talking about the ones who have truly maxed out this ability, only one group stands at the top. Russia's Spetsnaz is brutal, no question. High pain tolerance, fierce in urban combat, but too inconsistent and way too dependent on shock tactics over precision. Israel's Sayeret Matkal is hyper-elite, insanely well-trained, but they operate on a much smaller scale. Surgical strikes, not full-scale ghost ops. The US Navy SEALs are legends. Osama bin Laden, ocean insertions, night raids. No denying their flash and firepower. But sometimes they lean more towards cinematic than surgical, which leaves us with the UK's SAS. And this is where the conversation ends. These are the guys that wrote the playbook. Counter-terror, jungle warfare, hostage rescues. They were doing all of it before half the world had a concept of special forces. Gulf War, they were behind enemy lines with almost nothing, and still made it out after wrecking supply chains and calling in airstrikes like it was a casual Tuesday. 8 traits down, 2 to go, and let's continue by talking about our air forces. Let's not pretend this is close. Russia has tough fighters, but not really the best in stealth. China has numbers, no combat history. France, excellent jets, limited reach. But America? Well, all I'd say is that they brought 13,000 aircraft to a knife fight. F-22s, F-35s, stealth bombers, drones, AWACS, refuelers. If it flies, they've mastered it. While others scramble for airspace, the US starts every war from the sky. It's not just air superiority, it's air monopoly. Yeah, this was the stuff we've been saving them for. And finally, let's look at our population. When it comes to military manpower, the top contenders are India, the US, North Korea, and China. India brings the numbers, no doubt, and the US has a highly trained volunteer force backed by unmatched tech. North Korea? Masses of troops, but half of them might be running on rice and propaganda. And besides, we've already used these guys. That leaves us with China, the real powerhouse, with over 2 million active personnel, millions more in reserves, and a population that could scale up in weeks. It's like they've got an army hidden behind every street corner. We'd definitely go with China, because when your backup has backup, you don't need luck. Check out this video to see me create the most powerful country in history. Don't be shy, check it out.